Hey everyone, ready for a deep dive into some English grammar?
I am so ready.
This is going to be good. Today we're tackling those pesky grammar points that often trip up Spanish speakers.
Should be fun.
It really should. And to help us unpack all this, we found a really cool English learning podcast
Okay.
that is specifically designed for Spanish speakers.
Right.
And the host is just like bursting with energy, really positive.
Yeah.
Makes you want to learn. Okay, so let's jump right in. Let's start with to be worth.
Oh, to be worth. Okay.
What are your initial thoughts on to be worth?
Well, you know, in Spanish, we have that great phrase, valió la pena.
Right.
And sometimes I think that it can be a little tricky to figure out exactly how to say that in English.
Absolutely, because it's not always
Yeah.
a one-to-one translation.
Right, exactly. And English uses to be worth with an ing verb.
Right.
Like, for example, we might say, it's worth trying.
Right, like, vale la pena intentarlo.
Exactly.
You're so right. So there is that slight difference.
Yeah, and you know what I think it is? I think that in English, using that ing form, it kind of puts the emphasis on the process of trying.
Oh, okay.
Like the effort itself is what matters.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like saying, yeah, it's worth putting in the work to try.
I like that. I like that way of looking at it. And you know what? I bet if you can master that little difference, that'll really make your English sound more natural.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
Because I know a lot of times Spanish speakers will want to use the infinitive after to be worth. And it's like, that's one of those little giveaways. Okay, so speaking of things that can be a little tricky, let's move on to hope, wait, and expect.
Oh, yes. That's a good one.
Because in Spanish, you have the one word, esperar.
Esperar. Yes, very versatile.
That covers it all.
It does. It does.
And we have three.
I know, right? So how do we make sense of this?
A lot of pressure. So how do we break it down?
Well, let's think about it. Wait is pretty straightforward. If you're waiting for the bus,
Yeah.
that's your esperar in action.
Okay.
You're physically waiting.
Right. That one's pretty straightforward.
Now, if you're hoping for good weather,
Yes.
that's hope. That's a wish. You want it, you desire it. It's not guaranteed, though.
It's not guaranteed. It's more like wishful thinking.
It is.
Yeah.
Expect falls somewhere in between, I would say. So let's say you're expecting a package.
Right.
You know it's coming.
You've got that tracking number.
Exactly. It's not just a hope. You have a reasonable basis for thinking it's going to happen.
Okay, so expect has a higher probability than hope.
Exactly. There's more certainty there.
And this is what makes these deep dives so interesting. Because you start to uncover these like really subtle differences between the languages and how to use them correctly. And it just makes you a more confident speaker.
100%.
And that's what we want.
Absolutely. Because then you can really get your point across.
You sound so much more natural. You sound like a native speaker.
Exactly. It's like you're not just translating in your head anymore.
Right.
You're thinking in English.
Exactly.
And using the right words for the right situations.
And it's awesome.
It is awesome. It opens up a whole world of possibilities.
It really does. Okay, so are you ready to tackle another pair of words that often get confused?
Bring it on. Hit me.
Let's do it, Matt. All right, so we were talking about hope and wish.
Right.
And I think this podcast does a really good job of pointing out another area that could be a little tricky
Okay.
for Spanish speakers. And that is the whole thing with the simple past.
Ah, yes. The simple past. Because it's not always so simple.
It's not always so simple.
Yeah.
No, it trips me up, and I'm a native English speaker. But basically what the podcast host points out is that, when you're talking about something in the present
Yeah.
that you want to happen,
Okay.
you would use hope, right? Like, I hope you can come to the party.
Right. You're hoping they can still come.
Right, exactly.
There's still a possibility.
But if I were to say, I wish you could come to the party,
Ooh.
that implies that
You're sad they can't.
they can't come.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's like this very subtle
Yes.
use of the simple past
It changes the meaning.
that changes the entire meaning of the sentence.
Yes, it does. It makes it hypothetical. Like,
Sure.
it would be nice if they could come.
It'd be great, but it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
So it's all about like managing expectations.
Right. Are we being optimistic or realistic?
Yeah, exactly.
Hope versus wish.
I love that. Okay, I have to throw in this little bonus tip from the podcast
Okay, I'm ready.
because I thought it was really interesting.
Okay.
He talks about how a lot of times Spanish speakers will pronounce wish as wish.
Ah, yes, that's a common one.
So he's like, make sure you really
Yeah,
emphasize that I sound.
that short I sound, wish, not wish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
good tip.
So are you ready to jump into a new grammar adventure?
I'm always up for an adventure. What do we got?
Okay, let's talk about comparatives and superlatives.
Oh, comparatives and superlatives. All right, let's do it.
And this podcast host, I love the way he describes this
Okay.
because he uses the term intensifiers,
Intensifiers. Interesting.
which I think is so smart
Okay.
because he's talking about like those words that we add to comparatives to add, like more emphasis, like much, a lot
Okay.
in informal situations.
Like that.
But it's like you're intensifying
You're intensifying.
the
yes.
comparative.
Okay, I'm like you.
So, for example, he gives an example. He says, he's faster, but not much faster than you.
Oh.
So it's like, yes, he's faster, but
It's not a huge difference.
it's not a huge difference.
I see.
Or you could say, like, she's way more organized than I am.
Right. Way more. Okay, so you're really emphasizing the difference there
Exactly.
with these intensifiers.
And it's like, sometimes you just don't even think about it.
Right.
But it's so common in spoken English
Oh, absolutely. You hear it all the time.
to use these little intensifiers.
It's those little things that make a big difference.
They do. They really do. And it's about, again, sounding more natural
Exactly.
and being able to express yourself
It's about fluency.
in a nuanced way.
Yes, and it's about not sounding like you're reading from a textbook, right?
Right.
It's about sounding like you actually speak the language.
Like you're a real person
Yes, exactly.
having a real conversation.
100%. Okay, I'm liking this deep dive.
Me too. Me too. It's good stuff, right?
Yeah, this is really useful. What else we got?
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited to see what other gems we uncover.
Me too. Me too. All right.
Yeah.
So jumping right back in, the podcast host uses the phrase, if my boss saw me, he would tell me off. And it made me think about how the same phrase can sound very different depending on who's saying it.
Oh, absolutely. Like, tell me off. That could be a gentle reprimand, or it could be like
Literally, yeah.
a real tongue lashing, you know?
Exactly.
Sound to text is everything.
It is. It is. And I think that's one of the things that makes English like tricky, but also so interesting is that
It is, yeah.
you can really,
It's got so many shades of meaning
yes.
and subtle nuances.
Okay, you ready for another good one?
Hit me.
Don't let him smoke inside the house.
Okay, so this is interesting because it's like we're using let
That's
to set a boundary, right?
It's almost like giving permission, or in
Yeah.
this case,
Yeah, or taking it away.
not giving permission. It's very interesting.
It is. It's subtle, but it's important.
It is. It is. Okay, how about this one? There would be a serious problem if they found out.
Ooh, okay, so now we've got that element of mystery.
I know. He doesn't tell us that they might find out.
Right, we don't know what it is.
And I thought that was very clever.
It's like a cliffhanger, but with grammar.
Yes. And speaking of good grammar, another phrase I wanted to mention was in spite of.
In spite of, that's a good one. It's like despite something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're overcoming an obstacle.
It's like she won the race in spite of her injury. Like you're emphasizing.
Determination.
Yes.
Wow, I like that one.
It adds a little drama.
It does. It's like you're adding a plot twist to your sentence.
Yes. I love it.
I'm going to use that one. In spite of.
Right. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Okay. All right, ready for a few rapid fire phrases.
Bring them on.
All right. I can tell you're angry.
Ooh, yeah, that's a classic. Short and to the point.
Straightforward, gets the message across.
And also, it shows you're paying attention, right? Like you're recognizing their feelings.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that one.
Okay, last but not least, whose turn is it?
Ah, the essential question for any game night. And it reminds us about possessive pronouns, right?
Yes.
Whose, mine, yours, those are important.
They are. They are. And on that note, I think it's our turn to wrap up this deep dive.
I agree.
It's been so much fun exploring these little grammar nuances.
It has. This podcast was a gold mine.
It really was.
Yeah.
And, just goes to show you, you can learn so much
Totally.
just by paying attention to how people actually speak.
Absolutely. Even if it's just listening to a podcast.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So to everyone listening, keep those ears open,
Keep learning.
keep learning, and we'll catch you in the next deep dive.
Bye for now.
Yeah.